Please be there. Okay, we are starting the webinar now. So, a very warm welcome to all the respected participants for the last webinar of season two. This is Jermin Shah again from Teachers. Talking about Teachers, we are a Government of India recognized startup, and we are into the edtech sector, wherein we provide uh, uh, all the digital solutions, starting from online admission to online result declaration or examination or teaching learning process to many education institutes in India and even in the other countries. So this initiative, Let's Talk Education, is the part of social initiative of Teachers. So I hope all of you are well and fine in this pandemic situation. And to start with, I'll give you a brief idea about what this initiative is all about. What is Let's Talk Education exactly? So Let's Talk Education is a social initiative organized by teachers to shed lights on the topics that are bound to create value for every participants. So usually we try to cover all those topics which are maybe the current topic or an issue in the field of education in association with our host colleges. So we usually collaborate with the colleges for one topic, and we call the best educationalists on the platform to talk about that particular topic, just to try to bring more positivity and the philosophical difference in the particular topic. So the fundamental idea is of this initiative is to have the philosophical talk on the matter of education. So there is no technical thing, like you do not have any sort of workshop, PPT sharing, थोड़ा technical चीजें होती है. It is just like you listen to the speakers, you listen to their thoughts, their ideas, their experiences, and you know new philosophy, and that's it. So there is nothing like a technical thing which you need to understand. It is just a philosophical thing. We have speakers who are going to speak their experiences, their philosophy on the topic, or as an audience, as a participant, it is all about how you are getting through with that philosophy. We had talking about the Let's Talk Education webinar ka recap. So let's just recap the Let's Talk Education as a season. So we had one amazing first season back in April 2020 when we had total 7 episodes in total, and the main theme of season 1 was industry post COVID-19, and that entire season was in 2020 April. So वहां पे हमने 7 episodes किए थे, and all the episodes were total revolving around the topic कि इंडस्ट्री पोस्ट कोविड-19, इंडस्ट्री कैसी होगी और हमें उसको कैसे डील करना है. And well, here we are with season 2, at the end of season 2 of Let's Talk Education, and the theme of this particular season is change with changing times. The season which started last month April में हमने start किया था. Our first episode was on April 3rd, and this is the time, this is the episode wherein we are just ending this session after this. So ये जो season है, it is going to end after this season. Talking about the statistics, we've got really an overwhelming response all across. Like we have received in both the seasons, where more than 2,500 plus participants, unique participants I'm talking about, from more than 100 different universities of India, from 23 different states, have participated. And all of them were either HODs or vice principals or principals of their particular institutions. So this is how, we have tried to maybe connect each and every universities and their representatives via this particular platform. And together in both the seasons, we had very prominent and one of the best speakers of the industry talking about nothing but education. Now, when I talk about speakers that we had in season 1 or in season 2, so we had in season 1 speakers, all the speakers were very tremendous. To name a few, we had someone like Father Felix Raj, who is the Vice Chancellor of St. Xavier's University, Kolkata. We had someone like Professor John Varghese, who is the principal of India's most, top-rated institute, St. Stephen's College. We had principal of St. Xavier's College, Mumbai, Dr. Rajendra Shinde. We had principal of KC College, Mumbai, Dr. Hemlata Bagla, and many other eminent personalities on the speakers were part of our season 1 as a speaker. Now, talking about season 2, again, we had really great personalities in terms of educational background. Like we had Dr. Suman Sharma, principal of, again, one of the most premier institute of India, Lady Shri Ram College. We had Dr. Naresh Chandra, who is the pro-vice chancellor of University of Mumbai. We had S.K. Chakravarti, who is the director of, who is the ex-academic dean of NIT Kurukshetra. We had Ravi Miglani sir from Ahmedabad University, who is the director over there. We had Shobnan Vasudevan madam, who is again one of the principal of one of the most premier institute of Mumbai, R.A. Podar College. Nandakumar Nikam sir, जो भी who is the president of Principals Union from Pune University. And the list goes on and the count goes on in terms of the number of speakers or the list of speakers we had. The theme of second season is change with changing times. And the basic idea behind this particular theme that we have selected is to discuss on how and what length we can bring the philosophical change in the industry in this ever dynamic time that we have. So at the moment, we really have a dynamic time. So how we need to change ourselves in this particular time. We had our first webinar on April 3rd, and the topic was how we can bring students back from coaching classes to college classroom. That was our first episode of season 2, which were in association with Nagindas Khandwala College, Mumbai. Second episode जो था उनका टॉपिक था how being a proactive professor matters, जो हमने किया था LD Arts College Ahmedabad. Third episode the principles of visionary at work, and we did this particular episode with Haryana's most premier college, Agrawal College. Last episode that we did was on the topic exam system. We have lost our path. That we did with our one of the client from Thane NKT College. And today is webinar 5, last webinar of season 2, where we'll be discussing on India's potential in producing world-class researchers. So again, that was the recap of what we did and what we are doing at the moment. And so welcome all the participants to this particular webinar again. And now I would like to invite Dr. Shobha Menon, the principal of Valia College, Cosmopolitan's Valia College, Andheri, Mumbai, who are also our client from last 2 years. And this time, this Premier Institute of Mumbai is co-hosting this webinar with us. So let me invite Dr. Shobha Menon, principal of Valia College, to welcome you all. Shobha Menon.
Thank you, Jaimin. And good afternoon. On behalf of Cosmopolitan's Valia College, I extend a very warm welcome to our panelists, Dr. Harish Purohit, Dr. Debolina Datta, and Dr. Hemant Kumar Chandak. I also welcome all the principals, vice principals, heads of departments from other colleges who are with us to deliberate on a topic, which I should say is a burning topic. Can India produce world-class researchers? Well, to start with, let me tell you, I and Jaimin have brainstormed on this quite a bit. And that is how it's from those brainstorming sessions that we have had, which we have often on a number of different topics, that we thought of doing this particular session. Now, before I move on to the session, I take this opportunity to let you know a little bit more about my college. Well, our college, Cosmopolitan's Valia College, started in 1986 under the aegis of Cosmopolitan Education Society, is one of the reputed institutions located at Andheri West, Mumbai. We offer undergraduate programs in commerce, accounting and finance, mass media, and information technology. We also offer postgraduate programs in commerce and information technology. The college has, in 2016, started with the Valia Center of Excellence. This is a part of our college which offers a number of add-on courses, thus meeting the need of providing skill-based education, which we all realize is the need of the hour. And we are indeed proud to let you know that the center has a collaboration with IBM to offer courses in the upcoming areas of data science, artificial intelligence, and machine learning. So, after this little background about our college, let me move on to directing your attention to what we do in the area of research. We all know that research can be considered a hallmark of academic excellence. And we at Valia make a concerted effort to foster a research culture within the institution. Our student teams, I would say, participate and win laurels in different research competitions, prominent among which is Avishkar. Every year, the number of teams we have been putting up and the winners at Avishkar have been steadily increasing from Valia College. We have also successfully organized national and international conferences. Faculty development programs to foster research among faculty is a regular feature at Valia. So that is the reason why when I was talking about doing a program with German, we thought about doing this particular one on can India produce world-class researchers? German, if I'm not wrong, probably we are the only college who has been with you in season 1 and season 2.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
The only unique college.
Yeah, we are the only college who've been with you in both the seasons of Let's Talk Education. Well, I will not stand between you and the panelists for too long. I'm really thankful to all the panelists who have agreed to be with us at such a short notice to share their experiences. I'm sure we would have some interesting deliberations today, and all of us would have some lovely takeaways. Before I conclude, please stay home, stay safe, and of course, stay online. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Shubha Madam. A fitting welcome to all the participants. Let's move on to the other part of it. So it's time to get our speakers introduced. And to introduce our speakers, let me invite Ms. Shipra Singh from Valia College to do the same. Shipra,
Hello,
madam.
thank you.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, all. I feel privileged to be introducing the speakers of today's talk. We have an extraordinary panel with us today. To begin with, we have with us Dr. Harish Kumar Purohit, who is a dynamic professional with over 27 years of rich expertise spread across the industry, academics, and research domains. Dr. Purohit has obtained his doctorate of philosophy in management. Currently, he is associated with the Parle Tilak Vidyalayas Association's Institute of Management as director. He has taken sessions at institutions like NMIMS, Wellinkar, Podar College, KJ Somaya, NM College, and Usha Praveen Gandhi College of Management, and has been invited as guest speaker at various seminars and workshops in advertising, branding, marketing, sales training, risk management, and supply chain management. He's often invited in the capacity of keynote speaker, guest of honor, guest speaker at various conferences, seminars, workshops. Recognizing his contribution to the field of academics, Outstanding Contribution to Education Award was conferred upon Dr. Purohit in 2015. He is also a recipient of the Best Director of the Year 2018 award by Computer Society of India. We welcome you, sir. We also have with us Debulina Datta ma'am. She's a professor of practice at IIM Bangalore. She has 28 years of industry experience and has held the post of CHRO for last 6 years in 2 multinational companies. Her extensive experience in core HR functions has supplemented her passion for research. She has multiple certifications in facilitation of behavioral training and is also certified in psychometric tools, which have enabled her to facilitate training and coaching sessions for mid-management and leadership executives. She has substantial experience in dealing with large international stakeholders in organization growth initiatives, change management, organization restructuring, and OD initiatives, mergers and acquisitions, and working in multicultural environments. She's also been recognized in 2016 by World HRD Congress as 100 most influential global HR professionals, and in 2017 for the most influential HR leader in India, and nominated as top 16 women HR for 2016. Thank you, ma'am, for joining us today. And also, we have with us Dr. Hemant Kumar S. Chandak, who is a professor and head of Department of Chemistry and the coordinator of IQAC at GS Science, Arts and Commerce College at Khamgaon. He has a teaching experience of 21 years, and to talk about his achievements, he has been awarded with the UGC Raman Fellowship for Postdoctoral Research in USA for 12 months, the District Level Best Teacher Award 2020, and the Community Member of ACS 2020. He's also a member of Board of Studies in Chemistry at the Amravati University. He has been the reviewer for many research journals as well. He is a recognized PhD supervisor and has guided 4 students for PhD and 5 are still working under him. He's also published 2 books. Along with that, he has published around 37 research papers in international journals. He's also delivered more than 50 resource talks at national level seminars and conferences on NAC, research, organic synthesis, etc. Thank you so much, sir, for joining the talk. I welcome all our speakers once again, and I now hand the charge over to Mr. Jaimin to introduce the topic for the day. Over to you, Jaimin.
Thank you, Shubhra madam, for introducing all of our speakers now. So it's time for the topic to get introduced. And before we start anything, let me just request all of our speakers as well. Like we had requests from all the participants almost all the time in our previous webinars that if we can keep our session or our talk little multilingual, like a combination of Hindi and English together. So request to everyone, even I'll do the same thing. So we can have a talk very much in a language which is a fit to everyone. So more a blend of Hindi and English together. So yeah, let's start the introduction of the topic. So this is again one tradition that we are following all the time. होता कैसा है कि we as an organization, teachers, we usually define the topic कि ये topic पे हमें बात करनी है. Then what we do is we usually get an approach from the colleges. Almost all the times it happens that we have some of the other colleges being approached कि हमें webinar करना है. So and then we associate with the college and then we do the webinar. Similar thing happened this time as well. What happened is last month में हमने 4 webinar कर लिए and then we had the entire examination season. So we just thought of कि probably we are not going to come up with the 5th webinar, which is the last webinar, क्योंकि time थोड़ा ऊपर नीचे था. Then Shubha madam just called me up telling कि एक webinar करना है साथ में. And I was like कि मैम मेरा 5th webinar बाकी है, season 2 का last webinar. मैम का आज रिसर्च कॉन्क्लेव था और मेरा 5th webinar का टॉपिक था कैन इंडिया प्रोड्यूस वर्ल्ड क्लास रिसर्चर्स. सो नथिंग कुड बी अ बेटर कॉम्बिनेशन देन दिस. एंड देन वी लिटरली अग्रीड ऑन द सेम पॉइंट कि चलो करना ही है. सो दिस इज हाउ इट स्टार्टेड. नाउ टॉकिंग अबाउट द रीजन हमने ये टॉपिक क्यों सेलेक्ट किया. So to start with, I'll share my first-hand experiences on research with 3 different cases I have. So with one case, I have questions for one speaker. So I'll start with my first case. So as a student during my college days, when we are being asked that you'll have to make a black book of 60 pages as a part of your last work project or as a part of your last year research work, most of us, most of our friends, including me, were really unaware about how should we go about it. I mean, we were totally or mostly not made aware about how to conduct a proper research paper and how to write it. So usually कैसा होता था, हम सब एक confusion mode में थे कि यार एक 60 pages का black book बनाना है, वो तो हमें पता है, लेकिन उसमें करना क्या है, how to conduct a research, कैसे research paper लिखना होता है, hypothesis कैसे build करनी है, and so on and so forth. We could have done the other way. I mean, we had internet with us even then, back then. तो हम गूगल करके भी जान सकते थे कि रिसर्च कैसे करना है, बट यूजुअली मोस्ट ऑफ अस टुक द इजियर वे ऑफ डूइंग इट. एंड यू माइट एवरीबडी मस्ट बी अवेयर अबाउट दिस इजियर वे. एंड द इजियर वे इज अप्रोचिंग योर सीनियर्स. हमने भी वही किया, हमने हमारे सीनियर्स को अप्रोच किया और हमने बताया कि दिस इज व्हाट वी हैव एट द मोमेंट, और उनको भी पता ही था कि क्या करना है, एंड दे लिटरली गेव अस ऑल देयर रिसर्च पेपर्स. सो रादर देन डूइंग द रिसर्च, व्हाट वी डिड इज वी डिड अ लेबलिंग जॉब. हमने क्या किया, रिसर्च तो उनका ही था और प्रोबेबली उनका भी नहीं होगा, इवेंचुअली इट कुड माइट हैव बीन टेकन फ्रॉम देयर सीनियर्स टू, और द साइकिल में गो ऑन. बट द थिंग इज हमने उनका रिसर्च पेपर बहुत लोगों ने ले लिया था, लेबलिंग कर दिया, नया फर्स्ट पेज चेंज कर दिया, एंड नाउ आई हैव द क्रेडिट ऑफ दैट पर्टिकुलर रिसर्च. देन केम द वाइवा डे. वहां पे भी वी गॉट द टिप फ्रॉम आवर सीनियर्स दैट द एक्सटर्नल विल प्रोबेबली आस्क 2 questions. One question will be why you have selected this topic. Another question will be what are the findings. And guess what? Seniors are never wrong. Yahi hua, we have got almost the same line of questions. And out of no surprise, most of us got O grade or A grade. Now, this is a story, but at the end of the story, if we can just conclude, this could be the story of most of the students of higher education institute. And this is how research could be in most of the higher education institute, maybe at undergrad level, wherein you have a copy paste labeling job and you are done with your research, or you are done with your maybe final year project. So the question comes again, the broader question, can India produce world class researchers with this particular system in place? So see, what I can understand is policymakers can only make research compulsory, and that's what they did. उन्होंने कंपलसरी कर दिया कि लास्ट ईयर में हर एक स्टूडेंट को एक डिसर्टेशन या रिसर्च पेपर सबमिट करना है. So making a research paper mandatory is the thing that they did, but sadly the outcome is not so effective. So that is the problem we are discussing. And please pardon me if I'm going little critical, but see, at the end, if we are talking about solution, or if we really want some sort of outcome or solution, we must talk about the problems we have very openly. So that is the problem I feel we have in the academics at undergrads or any other level of research. Well, on the other hand, I've seen a structure in Western universities as well. Even they have dissertation very much mandatory to complete their graduation. And the fun fact is, most of their research are aimed towards solving the real problems of the society. At the end of that, we must remember that small and innovative companies in USA are beating American giants. This is very true. Small and innovative companies are really beating the American giants. And the foundation of all of these is problem based or problem solving research that they are doing during their academics. So to address this particular case, I have again 3 cases. This is the first case I have, and to address this particular case, I would like to invite our first speaker, Dr. Harish Purohit, the director of Parle Tilak Vidya Association's Institute of Management, Mumbai. Sir, to be very much specific, I have 2-3 questions for you, which you can broadly, elaborate plus the topic. First question I have is, can all the education institute make a practice to teach students how to conduct research and motivate them to do the actual during the academic career? Like, ऐसा कुछ setup हो सकता है जहाँ पे all the education institute have something like that, wherein they are motivating students to do research and teaching them कि research करना कैसे है, rather than just maybe wasting their final year project. I mean, they are wasting their final year project. So that is one question. Another is, how an education institute be self-disciplined for research with whatever limitations you have. See, of course, all the institutes might have one or the other limitation. Institutes may say कि हमें यूनिवर्सिटी के गाइडलाइंस फॉलो करनी है और यूजीसी के गाइडलाइंस फॉलो करनी है, बट वॉट एवर लिमिटेशंस वी हैव, कैन वी हैव दैट सॉर्ट ऑफ एनवायरनमेंट जो थोड़ा सेल्फ डिसिप्लिन हो फॉर एवरी इंस्टीट्यूट, सो दैट वी हैव अ ग्रेटर आउटकम फ्रॉम द रिसर्च. So over to you, sir.
Thank you, Jaimin. Thank you, the Principal Dr. Shobha Menon, Madam, my dear panel members, Madam Datta and Dr. Chandak sir. And thank you, Ms. Shipra, for introducing, for that lovely introduction. Well, the topic is very aptly chosen by Madam Menon and teachers Jaimin. It is very important for us to know that we are in changing times. We all know it is not because of just COVID, but because of the constant efforts by even policymakers. That's where the new National Education Policy 2020 has come into the picture. When it comes to making students work on a project, it was often taken as if, it is just like taking or doing or achieving some credits. In fact, 2016 UGC policy framework also guides that at least 2 credit points are given for students to work on real life projects. But when it comes to the system down the line, it takes its own challenges, because we are a mass country providing mass education to many people. But nevertheless, NISP policy, which is like a National Innovation and Startup Policy 2019 by Ministry of Education, intends to guide higher education institutions for promoting students-driven innovations and startups, and to engage the students and faculty. Believe me, here, engaging students and faculty in innovation and startup activities in the campus. So the policy is being implemented by Ministry of Education's Innovation Cell, and in coordination with AICT, UGC and all. We need to understand where the problem lies. The problem is that often teachers spend significant amount of efforts and time on curricular and co-curricular activities. So then they are left out with less time for the research. Without a proper research, the kind of command that anyone can hold on a topic would be superficial. And hence you see the repetition of the topics are mundane, or kind of a me too kind of a topics are being taken by the students, and often the researchers at PhD levels or MPhil levels or any other level for publishing their research paper, and then they end up in doing mess. It's, what is important here is to discuss the practical applications of these topics along with the students, they can come together and in innovative ways address those issues. Research-oriented teacher would inculcate research approach in the minds of the students as well. And that's where, when the thing starts happening, you will find that people will be doing real life projects and bringing real meaning to their research work. And that's where we will gain a competitive advantage, that yes, we are able to give you or bring a value proposition on the table by research. I will share with you some examples. But what is most important in today's world is multidisciplinary approach is required in carrying out any research. And hence I will take you through some of the industry examples which I would like to highlight in my discussion. Usually what happens, a teacher, for the sake of publishing 2 articles in a year, or the kind of a task which is there that you should publish certain number of articles in ABDC or Scopus or UGC care list journals, they keep on doing the research. So what happens is they keep on doing it. At the end of the research, they realize that something is not achieved, or whatever, the grade is not achieved, but yet I have to complete it because I have to publish article. Another set of teachers are there who are like, till yesterday night they worked on it and they want to give paper today morning. So, this type of challenges also or do exist in our system. But what is important here to know is to understand that we need to change our mindset. Why mindset change is required? Because national education policy focuses on 2 different set of institutions where, you have a different domain for the research organizations and also for the standard conventional teaching operating institutions. So now the time has come, when you call a service provider, what happens is you get a message that your call is important to us. Please wait. Our customer executive will get in touch with you. Same way, your call is important to us. Your call is important to us. Government, institutions, industry, all are depending upon academics. If you talk about Western worlds, where institutions of eminence like Harvard, Cambridge, Oxford, they all provide meaningful support to the industry. So industry, whenever needs that sort of backbone support in terms of knowledge infrastructure, they come to the academics. But in India, it is restricted to few institutions of eminence like IITs, IIMs, NIITs, and many more. So here, what is important is, it is not only just your call is important to us, or we need to understand that until we realize that we are no longer important, we forget that your call is no longer important to you, that you have made in terms of research, in terms of learning so far. So we need to change our mindset. Now, how do we do that? First and very important aspect here is to understand the real world problems. Then only the real world solutions can be worked out. Doing a mundane or a me too kind of a repetitive kind of a research will not going to help us, or will not going to serve any purpose in our life or make any social impact. Now, for example, I would like to throw one easy example of Easy Move. Easy Move, EZYMOV. Many of participants would be on the internet now, can search for it. It is India's first wheelchair taxi service. Okay. Now, why you need a wheelchair taxi service? We are often talking about Uber, Ola, and all. Albert Einstein said that जहां कठिनाई आती है, वहीं नए अवसर भी आते हैं. मतलब जहां opportunities आपको problem दिखती है, वहां opportunities आपको मिलेगी. So what they do, Easy Move is a new age company with traditional values, which was started by professionals from varied business fields with a passion to make the mobility challenged travel with dignity. What they provide, vehicle features, standby wheelchairs are there. In case of emergency, foldable wheelchairs are available. Their vans or vehicles are equipped with wheelchair lift that will help them for a safe and efficient boarding of the passengers. Specially trained drivers sensitized them, and they have got courteous behavior. Extra room for co-passengers to cherish the feeling of togetherness. Wheelchair locking system, your safety is their priority, right? So this kind of a service provider are coming in the market, startups are coming in the market. As a researcher, are we there to understand there is a need for this type of service provider in the market. Can we connect them with the real life situation? The type of services that they are providing is, the people who need to go often or on a weekly basis to healthcare professionals or clinics for maybe for their physiotherapy purpose, dialysis purpose, chemotherapy purpose, or any other, even for airport transfers, for religious tours, seeking divine blessings from the shrines of any destination, whether it is local or interstate, commuting for social events. You should not miss out, the wedding celebrations or a family get-togethers, accessible tourism. So they tie up with the market leaders of the industry of tourism players who to give them the best holiday packages. So, this type of service provider mindset is changing. As a learner or as a researcher, can we do some kind of research in identifying the kind of impact that they are generating in the minds of customers or the people like them who have got a challenge in moving on their own? Second, if this model since this model is just started in Mumbai at Kurla, one of the offices, can this model be replicated in tier 1, tier 2 or other, mega cities like Mumbai, Delhi, Chennai, Kolkata, or for that matter, any other town? So this type of need of the hour will give direction to our students, to our teachers, and do a kind of a survey, kind of a mechanism where you identify the need for this type of service and the kind of price levels at which they are providing this type of service. Is it affordable? At what cost? And how do they go about it? Another important social change that has come in our context, in Indian context, is very important. A company called Revigo. I hope you're all heard of this company, Revigo. If not, then let me throw some light on it. It is providing service in the logistics industry. If you look at in India, the India's logistics industry is biggest driving force to the Indian economy because it contributes 14% to the India's GDP. India needs 1 million new truck drivers every year for the next 10 years to support its ecosystem and achieve the GDP growth that we aspire. 5 trillion economy, that is the target that our Prime Minister Modi ji has kept by 2025 or 2030, whatever 10 years that we talk about. It is a humongous task, and logistics, supply chain industry, will definitely have to grow. But then on one hand, it is estimated that India will have only 480 truck drivers for every 1,000 trucks on the road by the next year. Now, what is the problem here? The problem, if you have less truck drivers, then you will not find them in the market, and hence the whole ecosystem or the GDP growth will get affected. So the Revigo company, an idea with the social impact, social purpose, which actually make the real impact on the economy, was started by Mr. Deepak Garg way back in 2014, when he was working for, just before that he was with McKinsey, and on, started with Madam Gajal Kalra. He was with McKinsey and he was going from Delhi to Jaipur. On the way, he met with the drivers, interacted with them. And what he found was that a truck driver lives months away from home, which we all know. Okay. And in one of the interactions, he found that the drivers are, treated as a 37th caste of in the Indian system. To surprise, even we don't know that there are 36th com kind of a thing in our country, which means they were treated as outdated or outcasted rather. And the challenges were like, they were staying months away from the family. 40% of their families are having HIVs. 25% of them even don't get married because कोई शादी नहीं करना चाहता है अपनी बेटी का ड्राइवर्स के साथ, क्योंकि वो महीनों सालों बाहर रहते हैं. And on an average, a driver lives 10 years younger than a normal average human being. By looking at the ecosystem requirement, challenges, and if India has to become, contribute to great extent from 3 trillion economy dollar economy to higher levels. It is a real social issue. So he started with a relay model. You might have heard, in the racing, relay racing hoti hai. Ek baton leke chalta hai racer and then hand it over to another racer, moves. Or in terms of Indian Railways, what they do, the train chalti rehti hai. The driver at a regular interval of 6 hours or 8 hours of duty, takes a break, and another driver comes in and takes the train away forward for the destination, towards the destination. So same way, he started with the concept of tech-enabled system, whereby the trucks are passed on like relays, and pit stops were created every 150 to 200 kilometers. Thereby, drivers will, take a pause, take a break, take a rest, and go back home, drive back home from another truck which is moving in their hometown direction. So the advantage here is the safety factor has gone up, because every day, they are having their own dabba, which they are carrying from home in the morning, going back again in the evening. So they are with the family life has improved. The social impact is there. Same day, they are traveling the same route. So the safety aspect of the same route is very much there, because they are aware of the conditions of the roads and all. Third important aspect is if they go back home, again, they have their home food in the night. They are with the family. The kind of social stigma or challenges which was there earlier, like unimaginable social disrespect, wo bhi nahi hai. They are able to manage and balance their family life. Earlier, it was like they're away from hometown. So, on highways, they had to cook foods, or at dhabas, they have to take meals, foods. So it was irregular meals and inadequate rest. So again, all that is solved. And then poor health and conditions were earlier there when they were always on the field away from their home. So, this type of innovation is happening in our environment, and we need to constantly monitor all these developments. Now, as a researcher, if entrepreneur like Mr. Kalra or Madam Kalra or Mr. Garg is coming out with solutions like this, how far they have reached, what is the impact that they have generated on the minds of the people? Because on one hand, we need to generate employment for the people, and this employment is with the dignity and social respect. And this is not only from a case study point of view from academics, but it is actually a real life world problem that is solving. So my takeaway, I feel, as a researcher or as a teacher, is that one should look out for a real world problem. The problem could be, an idea with the social impact, an idea with a purpose is very important. Idea which actually make the real economy impact, because intelligence is the ability to adapt to change. That's what Stephen Hawking said. We are all intelligent, but we need to take extra effort. Often happens that as a researcher, we are, something that we believe that whatever we have learned is up to mark, but no, things are changing. The whole world is changing with technology, not only before COVID, during COVID, and maybe post-COVID, as UGC's guidelines also talks about that 40% of the syllabus will be online. The blended learning will also be part of it. How can we work ourselves, develop ourselves in this changing times? So the second important takeaway for me is that, things are changing. So we need to develop our capacity and capabilities to constantly course correct. And this requires both that agility and flexibility in our whole approach of learning system. And that's where we can bring that element of change. And all this will start from a teacher. As I read some articles from, one of the magazines from one Mr. Navneet Nair, who is the director of product design, PhonePe, you might have heard. He talked about that we need to understand the core drivers of our personality, because we are not born with a passion for a particular thing. We are not born to be a researcher. We are not born. हमने सोचा नहीं था कि as a passion we will become teacher or a researcher. What is important is to find out the purpose in life, than to look for a passion. And hence, as Daniel Pink said, that intrinsic motivation is important. The mastery, autonomy, and the purpose. These three combined factors will give you a meaningful directions. And finally, find out that work which is engaging and meaningful. reduce your distractions, because social media, too much of information flow is there, not only on WhatsApp or a social media or a Google, but then you need to go to the sincerity, with the sincere efforts to find out the reliability of the data. So reduce your distractions, find meaningful work which is engaging and meaningful, and ultimately define your values and purpose. Because शिक्षक वो किसान है जो दिमाग में ज्ञान के बीज बोता है. And unless we teachers are convinced in bringing that value proposition in the market or from the field of learning to the classroom, I'm sure nothing will change. So I think this is enough to throw light on the topic, that how meaningful researchers can be generated unless we pay attention to the real life issues, the social issues, and we bring that element of change. Thank you, Jaimin. Over to you.
Harish sir, I have one question for you. So you talk about real life problems to be targeted, and based on that we need to do research. That is one way of looking at it, and probably if you are doing that, maybe the dialogue of Super 30 Avishkar se hi, I mean आपत्ति से ही आविष्कार का जन्म होता है, kind of thing. So all these startups have that sort of foundation which you are talking about. Like they look at the social issues, they try to solve it, and they have a good venture altogether. My question is kind of a vice versa. Let's talk about some sort of inventions. Like when we talk about computer ka invention is not being made by any sort of industries or companies per se. It has been invented in the University of Pennsylvania in USA. When we talk about internet has been again invented by some of the universities in USA, and it has been funded by US ka military budget. So when we talk about such sort of pure research, so applied research has one, you can say, place in the industry. But when we talk about pure research, I found that there are many academicians who are very much afraid about doing that, because at the end they are not at all maybe aware about the outcome, or sometimes they are not at all they are not able to predict that what kind of outcome they are going to get. So with that sort of fear in their mind, usually प्योर रिसर्च को इंडिया में मोटिवेशन नहीं मिल पाता. So what is your take in that?
See, as you rightly said, Jamin, pure research in Western countries are developed by the institution of eminence, which has got a great support from industry, because industries and other bodies support them to great extent. Now in India also, this type of pure research is done by the institutions like Institute of Science or IITs and all, and well funded and supported by government machineries. Okay. Now, when it comes to Indian environment, what is more important is to focus on an application-based research. Why it is important? Because India has got demographic dividend, but at the same time, demographic challenges are there. Now, why challenges? Because to place so many people in the market is a big challenge. Second, education system is a mass driven, not a class driven. Class driven is only with the class of institutions or eminence, but we have a masses to whom we have to educate. Somewhere we need to standardize the education aspect, but at the same time, ignite the fire of learning by connecting them to the real life situations. Now the startups like yours, teachers, why it is important to play this type of role is to connect with the reality, the kind of a change, the delta element, which is coming into the market, right? It is not just the young generation, it is generation on generation. People want to change, right? But the technology has provided a lot of or a bigger platform for this change, correct? So how we do it is more important. So, institutions, majority of the institutions will not get funding from the government just to run their show. Institutions have to find out or generate their knowledge base in such a way that they can generate revenues for them in the longer run. They should be not only contemporary, they should be futuristic. I will tell you example in different sector, like many of the people, many of the students do financial modeling and all that, and follow that equity class or asset class different. Gold sovereign bond. How many of the teachers are investing in gold sovereign bonds? These bonds are by the RBI, backed by RBI. Little knowledge about financial literacy will help the community to which we belong. We have to spread that awareness. We lack so much of knowledge. We only have informations gathered from so many sources, but we don't have the clarity. But if the teachers can do this, we can do it in a better way. For example, the sovereign bond, the gold sovereign bond, which ended this week, yesterday, the price was almost, it was 4 rupees, not 4 rupees, it was 4,777 per gram. Okay. And, if you buy online and keep it in demat form, the 50 rupees less. The same bond, which will start again on Monday, that is on 24th of May, the price will be different because the price is depending upon the previous 3 days or whatever that formula of 5 days trading closing price, average of that. So, if you are an investor, if you had invested on Friday, say 21st, you would have got it at 4,777, and on Monday the price will be different. Okay. Now this change is happening in real market. The market is dynamic, but when it comes to a sovereign gold bond kind of a scheme by government, it offers a lot of benefits in terms of capital gain tax benefit if you hold it for more than 5 years or 8 years, or it is a kind of a, interest that about 2.5 years on annual basis you get it. Otherwise you buy gold and keep it at house, you don't get any interest, right? So this type of change which is happening in environment should be addressed by the teachers so that our learnings and practice in the market can change, because the same teacher, the same family, or the like us, many people are fond of gold. Indian housewives are fond of gold. They buy it, they store it. Okay. There is a cost attached to it in terms of holding cost, in terms of, keeping in lockers and all, right? If you make jewelries, then making charges and all. But when you make another jewelry out of that same jewelry, remaking charges and other charges. So the actual cost goes high. So you can create education learning platform. Thereby people are aware of this. Same way, another example I would throw, the sugar industries. Sugar industry, घर घर में शक्कर हम लोग use करते हैं. But how many of us actually try and go and understand how sugar industries operate? Teacher can understand this and give projects to the students to understand that how many sugar companies are listed. Sugar companies have got a cyclical, nature in the terms of production. They produce sugar for almost 5 to 6 months maximum, whereas the consumption of those 5 to 6 months produced sugar is spread throughout 12 to 13 months. This year, if you see in last 3 months, the price of the commodities have gone up like anything. Brazil is also a major producer of sugar and exporter of sugar in the whole world market. Because of drought, the countries like Indonesia and all will not get sugar from Brazil, but they will have to rely on India's exports. So the Indian market prices will also likely to go up. On one hand, farmers should get remunerative price of their produce, and the industry, the food chain processors also should get their producer, the right price of it. Another factor like ethanol, the price of petrols are going up. We all are aware. 15 to 20%, ethanol is blended with the petrol, which is fairly allowed by the government. So the ethanol will drive the future of the sugar industry. And I will tell you, the re-rating of sugar sector will happen in next 2 to 3 years. It is not just going to be the agriculture crop for the consumption of the sugar, but the re-rating of these companies will happen because of the ethanol, the price of the crude oil, the price of the petrol, which is going up. So you need to create this sort of learning environment, thereby, the students and the teachers constantly work and develop their learning. And that will happen. These are all application based, pure mathematics. This is not a rocket science, right? This is only by mere observations, by reading it. And if you do this, I'm sure the sky is the limit. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. Now let's just move on to, as I've stated earlier in the session, that I have total 3 cases. So I had my first case, and which has been probably so far so good, solved by Professor Harish sir. The second case I have, so I will cut to the second case. So later on in my career, I started teaching as a professor in colleges, and I found another case study in research work is what I want to talk about today. So we have a requirement from the university, as Harish rightly mentioned, that as a faculty, the number of research paper you publish as a faculty, the more possibility is that you are going to get a greater career advancement points or CAS points or something like that, which is the setup by university. And so everyone is very much keen on publishing the paper as a faculty. And well, it should be a good news, but probably it isn't. I'll give you the fact. I mean, I'll give you some sort of idea about that, and or probably everybody might be aware about it. But yes, I want to speak about it. So I've seen many national and international research conclaves where teachers present their research papers, and everyone knows that many papers are probably of not of great contribution to the society or any other problem. It is just for the sake of, maybe as rightly said by again sir, that it is something very newer, you want that sort of grade or that sort of thing, and that is how you are presenting the paper. On the other hand, the fun fact is mostly the research conclaves are being organized even because NAAC's grade point is at stake. So the more research conclave and the webinars you arrange, probably the kind of pointers you are going to get from NAAC is really good. So and not because it is something wherein you want to encourage research. So over here, there is nothing like I want to criticize anything, but these are the practices which are actually demeaning the essence of research work, and we have made it as a tool of growth. On the contrary, what we have over here, on the contrary, I have my cousin studying in one of the American university. What he told me that his professor is doing one research project funded by a company. The company wants to want some sort of outcome, and for that they want to do some sort of research, and rather than doing it by themselves, they have outsourced the research to the university, and that professor is doing that sort of research. Again, the fun fact over, or the main point to be noted over here is, some of the bright students gets a chance to do the research work along with that faculty. They are paid for that, and the outcome of the research is something which exactly the requirement of the industry is. So how simple and effective model they have as compared to us. So why can't we have that sort of model even over here? Like, we have some sort of industry centric research, some sort of industry collaborated research wherein industry is funding, or we have a good tie-up with industry and we are doing the research which is actually an outcome oriented, which actually rightly said by Harish sir as well. Again, we need to understand one thing, that Stanford University is the, you can say, origin of the entire Silicon Valley. So again, the point to be noted over here is, they have universities, and probably the entire Niagara Fall or maybe Gangotri or Yamunotri of the entire innovation is being flooded from that particular university. So the question I have over here is, why can't we have a fitting collaboration with the industry to the academics, which could actually solve the problem, which could actually give the real touch of the problem to the students. To solve this case, I would like to invite Ms. Debulina Datta from IIM Bangalore. And ma'am, I have few specific questions for you. I'll start with the first question. The first question is, since you are from the industry, what are your experiences with the industry with regards to research, and how things happen there in terms of research, and what do they expect from the academics? Debulina, madam.
Thanks, Chairman. As you rightly said, I transitioned from the industry after nearly a little short of 3 decades of being in the industry. Entered the academics with more a passion just to teach and give back. Got bitten by the research bug, but then discovered that it's not so easy. So I'm going to just share 3 tips for all the participants who are there, and I'd request everybody, let's make this interactive. Let's please keep popping in your questions, your comments, and hopefully we can sort of learn from each other. The problem that I faced coming from industry was, I didn't know research methodology. Of course, I just started on my PhD journey that time, but till I learned research methodology, I couldn't publish an academic paper. Now, it's a little bit of a chicken and egg problem. How do you publish without knowing research methodology? Research methodology, the PhD में सीखेंगे, तो फिर कैसे publish करें? So it's pretty much like, बच्चा माँ या बाप के हाथ पकड़ के, उंगली पकड़ के चलना सीखता है. The same way I kind of learned. I held the fingers of a few of my professors from IIM. And for instance, there is Professor D.V.R. Sheshadri, who's right now with ISB, but he's the one who I give a lot of credit and I have a lot of gratitude towards him, because he's the one who actually taught me the whole ropes of case study writing. And once I learned that, of course, now I have a lot of publications up in the Harvard Case Repository. Similarly, this collaboration is very important, but it's not all good news. Okay, I mean, I remember once trying to partner with a very reputed academician, and I was literally running around in circles, headless chicken, trying to figure out where, and I was just going nowhere. And so I think it's very important to find the right partners that you can collaborate with, and that is very critical for your research to even see the light of day. Equally, for you to learn the process. That's number one. One thing I really realized is that, in the international forum, whether you call it the Scopus journals or ABDC list of journals, barring a handful of institutes, Indians don't have too many publications out there. But then when I find a few Indian names and I look, where are these people, based? And I find that a lot of them are in, in foreign universities. So it's easy to probably, catch their pigtails and try and work on a collaboration. And that's exactly what I did. I mean, I reached out to one of the faculty in a US university, and I managed to get my first A publication. So very strong suggestion to everybody here is, those of you who are really interested in putting out research, find the right partners, both in India and abroad. And let me tell you also that, sort of having now come over this side, for every probably 10 requests that I get to collaborate, I might find one who's really serious and willing to do a lot of the, sort of the heavy lifting and not upwardly delegate the work onto me, which is why I think a lot of the reputed researchers probably, are a little wary of these kind of collaborations, but it takes time and effort. And if you show your sincerity and your effort to put in the work, it comes in. The second point that I was saying, again, from being in industry, my pinnacle of research access was getting a HBR article. If I read an HBR article, I felt, okay, I have access to cutting edge research. Otherwise, we used to read, very practitioner-oriented journals. Since I came from the HR background, I'm talking about, you'll have SHRM articles, or you'll have Corporate Leadership Council. These are these industry boards which used to publish some research, but it was not the academic, the pure academic research. And so when I did the sort of transition and came over to the dark side, and I realized that a lot of these journals are writing in such esoteric language. तो थ्री इडियट्स का वो जो फेमस डायलॉग है ना कि सरल भाषा में समझाएं, वो कोई नहीं समझाता. इतना मुश्किल है वो आर्टिकल समझना कि the average industry person is going to run away rather than read that. They're like, किस पागल कुत्ते ने काटा है कि I have to read this kind of an article. What I find a little surprising is that, for all the publications that we do, I'm trying to think of any good Indian institution which is even churning out an HBR or a California Management Review or MIT Sloan Management, Review equivalent journals, which is easily understood and digested by industry, which will then bring the appreciation of the research work that we do, right? And so I think that is one way to get industry interested in what the research community is doing. And otherwise, honestly, industry thinks academia is sitting on a different, not even island, on a different continent. It's not even in the same hemisphere. They are in the other hemisphere, and industry is in the other hemisphere, and never the two shall meet. And that is a mindset which needs to be changed. The last point that I saw from my experience was that some of the PhD scholars that I came across with were doing research on such, I mean, abstract but completely impractical topics. Even if you find, and I'll give you an example of it. Like there was one person, PhD scholar from an IIM who who did a research study on basically testing inclination, motives, and aptitudes of engineering students before putting them into jobs in the IT industry. And if you can test their aptitude for it, then you will do that skill fit, and then they will be happy, and then you will reduce attrition. So they had done this whole modeling around it. And I asked a simple question. I said, who's going to pay for the test? So they got very offended because it says they said HR should pay for it. I said, why should HR pay for it? HR is only wanting people who ostensibly saying that they are interested in the job. And look at the reality of campus recruitment. When everybody comes to campus recruitment, you ask the students, they'll stand on their heads and say, yes, anything you want, 3 bags full, sir. At that point of time, nobody is coming out with, no, I want to work on this coding or that technology, or this is my aspiration, or this is no such thing, So why should HR pay for it, and who's going to fund it, right? It's a simple problem of, let's be practical. So, to choose research topics which are like equivalent of let's grow spinach on the moon. भाई उसको transport कैसे करोगे, उसका खर्चा कौन देगा, is it going to be worth the cost of it? तो फिर ऐसे research करने का फायदा क्या? Today I'm able, while I do have a domain of topics on which I'm sort of doing a lot of research. Interestingly, I was talking to some a large company here, and they came out with a problem, and they said, this is an issue that we're facing, and I said, I'm happy to support you guys in your problem. So when you want to do collaboration, and Dr. Harish talked about it, look at what is happening in industry. But like all of these guys are struggling with real-time live issues, and they would love for somebody to come and do a well-constructed, well-validated research study on it. If we can go with that attitude कि उनका काम बन जाएगा, then आपका काम भी बन जाएगा, आपको भी research मिल जाएगा, आपको भी data मिल जाएगा, आपका सारा support हो जाएगा. You don't need to really struggle to get data and things like that. And so I think a little bit of flexibility in terms of understanding what is it. So going out and talking to the industry and seeing what issues are they facing and how can we help them is a very good way to start getting ideas for research, which are very practical and very topical. So those are my 3 suggestions. After that, I don't have any sort of a lot of gyan to give out. I'm what they call as Kawa chale hans ki chal. I am an industry person trying to pose as an academician, and I can't claim a lot of experience on that. So I would be happy to answer any questions if
I have
any of the participants. So, yeah. And participants, you all can please put it on chat if there's anything that you think I can contribute to.
Yeah, even for participants, at the end of the session, after the next speaker is done with his speech, we'll be having a session, open-ended session for all the participants. You can just unmute yourself and ask the questions, but after the end of the session. Before that, let me just ask my questions that I have. Few of the questions I'll be asking. One question I have is, I just wanted to know, or if you can just throw some light on what sort of culture you have in IIM Bangalore, being the most apex institute of India. I mean, how you are looking at the research and what sort of you can say structures you have at your institute.
Okay. So from from an institute perspective, there is a huge impetus to publish. Huge focus on churning out good quality work, research work. So the erstwhile system, which used to be there more than a decade and a half back, of hiring faculty with tenure is not there anymore. There is a very well-defined system which is there for faculty who come in, that they have to meet certain criteria of publications and academic. So the publish or perish axiom works, is absolutely alive, which is why we are being able to churn out. You see the quality of publications which are coming out from IIM Bangalore has really increased. Having said that, research is it's a very frustrating journey. It's a very long journey. It doesn't happen overnight, and so the needle is moving, but it's not moving very fast. The second thing, the way we get a lot of support, there's tremendous independence in terms of what topics we want to do research in. who we want to collaborate with. There is a lot of support that one gets both from the institute and from bodies who collaborate in giving research grants. So a lot of that enables the system. The third thing that we get a lot of support for is a lot of tools. Like I was hearing, Jem, you talked about, copying an earlier seniors' work and putting it out. Now that doesn't even fly for assignments that we give, when we are teaching here, right? I mean, even for our coursework assignment, if student does it, each assignment is put it through platforms like Turnitin, where there's a plagiarism check, and so the ethics of churning out genuine work is very strictly adhered to. So I think these 3-4 things really help and build that ecosystem of getting research out.
All right. There is one last question I have, although I have asked this question to Purohit sir as well. The similar kind of question I have for you, since again you belong to the industry first and then the academy, so you have a total experience of maybe both the environment. So the requirement of the industry, when we talk about, is very much applied research centric, and the requirement, or maybe the willingness, when you talk about the free culture that you have in your institute, about the kind of topics you can select, is totally up to you. So that could be termed as maybe sometimes a pure research, wherein it could not be very much industry centric or a problem solving centric. So how can we, you can say, collaborate industry with education in that term, because education is more of a free research or a free environment research, wherein industry is more of a result driven research kind of thing. So how you maybe can or what is your advice in that? How can we collaborate these sort of issues, because this is a real issue which is even being faced by वेस्टर्न यूनिवर्सिटीज, क्योंकि इंडस्ट्री की डिमांड ही कुछ और होती है और यहाँ पे एकेडमिशियंस को बहुत ही फ्रीडम चाहिए रिसर्च करने के लिए.
Yeah, when I say freedom, I mean to say the freedom in terms of the choice of topics that I will want to do research on. I mean, it's not कि कुछ भी कर सकते हैं, वो बात नहीं है. See, there is a lot of collaboration that happens because industry. Okay, I'll give you an example. Recently, the director sent out a mail to all of us saying that one of the top IT companies has come back and wanting to partner with us to churn out case studies and do research. And whichever faculties are interested on these topics, put up hands. So that was one way. I was doing an executive education leadership training at one of the large firms here. And when I was talking to their head of L&D, they talked about a problem that they're facing. And that's become sort of, that has been the segue for a new research study that I'm now collaborating with them. So I think, if you start talking to people in industry, you will find there is no, I mean, there are apprehensions, and that is where the confidence you have to give them, if you have to sign an NDA, if you have to get data anonymized. We have anyway, within IIM Bangalore, we have an institutional review board which reviews the ethics around each of the research studies. And so there is a, that protocol is adhered to, that, the ethics of research is maintained. But you do whatever is required to build the trust with the industry partner कि आप उनका data लेके उसको misrepresent नहीं करेंगे, उसको misquote नहीं करेंगे and stuff like that. So that assurance has to be there for industry. Otherwise, I don't see any challenge in getting. I'm seeing a comment here from Monali. So can I just respond on that?
Monali? Yeah. Sure.
So Monali, you're saying that collaborations are exploitative rather than collaborative, and how can outsiders get around it? I'll partly agree with it. It depends upon. I'll tell you. For instance, right now there is, like I said, I get probably 10 research or 12 research requests, out of which only one person is really serious about it. The rest want to just, be a free rider and want that I would do all the hard work and heavy lifting, and it doesn't work like that. So that trust and confidence has to come in, Monali, that yes, you're serious, you're committed, and you are willing to do actually the heavy lifting. If that sense goes across, I don't see any reason why the collaborative thing will not work, because I pretty much did that, right? I, sitting in the industry, I got the collaboration by pigtailing with senior academics. Okay, and Ram Kumar is saying innovative research projects with industry. Okay. Do you think there should be a relationship of content of syllabus and research? I don't know, Ajmera, that I can comment on that. Needless to say, emerging trends is something which should get inculcated into the syllabus. Um, I remember the time when I did engineering. I don't think our textbooks had changed in over 20 years or 25 years, and uh, I remember asking one of my faculty at the time that I passed out. I said, "Why did we, study all of us? We did 4 courses of maths." Um, and after 25 years, there was one student from some engineering college who came and told me the only reason I learned Laplace theorem and Fourier transforms, 30 years back was because of one minute application. But I remember all 500 uh, batchmates of mine, we went mad trying to, do Fourier transforms and Laplace transforms. So the relevance of what we are studying to what is there in industry should be a little bit more dovetailed, and probably some of that collaboration is happening. I see bits of it happening with, collaborations with, let's say, Azim Premji Foundation is doing this teacher training programs, even collaborations with Wipro and all. So there are institutions which are doing that, working with academics to bring in more industry relevant content. Anybody else? So I didn't get the full name here, but somebody has said, do you think there should be a relationship? Oh, we did cover that. Okay.
Yeah.
Research activities with industries as sponsors is a great intention. What about patenting the work? Is it possible? I'm sure, Dr. Kathai, it is possible. Patents are something, and that's actually a very good carrot to give industry to say कि अगर कुछ निकलेगा तो उसको jointly patent करेंगे. So I think that's eminently doable. And I remember, when I was in industry, we were trying to collaborate with IIT Delhi because, this was for one project that we were working on. What Dr. Hemant was talking about it, and lithium ion and stuff. So we were actually looking at collaborating for certain inverter designs and stuff like that with IIT Delhi. It kind of, and then a lot of stuff happened, but this patenting thing is a very obvious collaborative tool. Okay, I think I've addressed all the comments here. If there's anything else, Jaimin, let me know.
Yeah. We'll have one specific session for that as well.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you very much, Debojita madam. All the queries has been perfectly, addressed by you. Let's cut to the third case study I have with me. The case study is about the doctorates we have in the industry. PhD scholar is what we call them, and the policymakers probably made PhD a mandatory thing to hold few positions in college or university. Maybe because I think they wanted to encourage research culture. But what we have is not everywhere, but yeah, we have some sort of dark spots as well over here. What we have is we have a setup specially made to award doctorate, whether you do research, whether you don't do research. We have some sort of setups available everywhere. Not all, but yes, we have. And even now, new education policy is probably making probably PhD a compulsory thing to for teaching, any sort of teaching. So for me, it's like a fingers crossed thing. So this is the scenario we have even in the higher educational level of research work. In continuation, let's talk about the contribution that we have in new invention by India as a country. We must remember that the kind of industrial revolution we had in the 19th century is totally an outcome of Britain, UK. When we talk about the revolution of digital revolution or revolution of information technology, it has been totally a gift of maybe the entire USA. So what is our big contribution as a country in the history? I could say probably Ayurveda, I guess. I'm not sure, maybe any other major contributions after that. Of course, many other contributions, but major contributions which we can significantly say. Now, talking about the best reward that we get doing a good research is the Nobel Prize. So how many of Nobel Prizes do we have, or how many Nobel laureates do we have in India? 5 in total. And even out of 5, we have in Nobel Peace Prize, one by Mother Teresa and the other by Kailash Satyarthi. One is in the field of literature by Rabindranath Tagore. Only two in the field of research. One is in the field of physics by, I guess, Dr. C.V. Raman in the year 1930, and the other is by Amartya Sen in the field of economics in 1998. And we are done. The list is limited to 5. 2 is in research, 3 is in peace and literature. So the question is, why is our research culture responsible for that? The culture that we have, the kind of research we are doing, probably is that the reason? And for that case, I would like to invite, maybe I can say, from 3 participants or from 3 speakers. We have the representative of academics, the core representative of academics, I can say, who has been or awarded or the recipient of UGC Raman Award for his excellent research in USA, Dr. Hemant Chandak sir. Sir, I have 3 questions for you. I'll start with the first one. Can you share your experiences of research being in US for a year, and the difference that you have found here, I mean, research culture in India and the research culture over there, and the things which we should adopt? If you can just talk about or shed a light on that aspect. Hemant sir.
Yeah, thanks, Jamin. Thanks. Maybe I will use a presentation. Yeah. And your questions are quite valid, and actually it makes me think on a couple of occasions. The same questions I put to my son, who has studied 3rd grade in USA, and now he's in 7th grade he's studying in India. So I asked him the same question, and the obvious answer was, so I asked him, say, Dev, can you tell me, can India produce a world-class researcher? The obvious answer usne pehle no diya. Then later on I had an interaction with him, and then he said, yes, we can. So this is how actually the things go. And you cannot measure India's contribution in terms of the Nobel laureates altogether. So it's not about that how many Nobel laureates you have produced as a country. It's not that. I think maybe in 10 minutes I will try to give you a picture where you will try to understand, because it will be too early to comment anything if we don't understand what the system is. So I have tried to give you through this presentation, I have tried to share some of the facts, and these facts will be, just a moment. These facts will be related to, in the initial step, I will be talking about the status of higher education in the country, and then I will talk about where we are in terms of quality as well as in terms of quantity. So that's the thing we should know. Secondly, is what we should know is, do we have a potential? And third one, like, what are the things that can be done, which I personally feel that can be done and we can make the change. So the first thing is, we will try to understand where we are. So so if you look at the statistics, this is the data that I got from the All India Survey from Higher Education Report, which talks that, and we know that we are having about 1,000 colleges, universities, about 40,000 colleges, and 11,000 standalone institutes that include paramedical, nursing, diploma courses, and the gross enrollment of the country in the relevant age group is about 26.3%, and we have around 37 million enrollments in all the courses, and of which we have a very small number, very negligible number, which are enrolled for PhD. So I'm not referring this to the number of PhDs only, because this is only in terms of a quantitative data I am sharing with you. And we being the 3rd largest in the world, and next to US and China, and these are the numbers that you can see from the screen. I don't want to tell more about these numbers. Anybody can Google it, and you can find out how much is the investment on education the countries are doing, and how that is related to investment on education is related to the country's overall GDP. So in fact, all the policymakers think that the investment in education is of no use, but it's actually the overall contribution to the nation's GDP is more if we invest more in the education. another interesting fact that I could get from the AISHE report is that we have a college density of 28 per lakh eligible students. Lakh eligible student means the students that will be entering into the higher education. And most interesting fact that, see, where is the problem actually? We know that most of our colleges and most of our education system, what actually Harish sir also told, that we are dealing with masses, and most of our colleges, 60% enrollment comes from the rural or semi-urban area. And our policy makers usually focus on the things from the metros. So it is a very high time to think about to ensure the participation of the stakeholders from the rural area and semi-urban area. And what is one of the significant factor, that student teacher ratio in the country, in the colleges is about 30:1, whereas in university is about 18:1. So looking at this particular ratio, why I am telling this, because if you want to bring the change, you have to look at these aspects of the education in terms of numbers. And if you look at the overall education institutions in India, they can be classified into 4 tiers. So the first 2 tiers comes, like they are referred as the Institute of National Importance, like IITs, IISERs, and these are the numbers that will tell you that these are some of the numbers of the institutions of the national importance, whereas actually students will get, and out of those 37.4 million students, only a very negligible number of students are getting training at these institutions, at the institutions of national importance. What Jamin, you were sharing your experiences, that you have to submit one project and then you enter into the academics, whatever the case studies you shared here, in fact, that comes under the masses. And here, the second tier in the education, or third tier in the education, is few central university and a few state universities which are actually really doing good. I'm using the word few because only few are really doing good among the state university. And in the last, you have all other state universities and their affiliated colleges. And it is interesting to note that about 60% of your enrollment is in this class, this particular institutions. So this is an interesting fact that I would like to tell you. And being third largest doesn't add any value as such, because when you look at in terms of quality, and when you look for, like the other speakers were also talking about the education system pattern in other countries, like if you look at then we need to look in the mirror and we need to find out that where we are in the QS ranking. And looking at these are the 5 institutions which are actually playing a sort of a kho-kho among themselves. कभी ये 4 पे आता है, तो कभी ये 3 पे रहता है, तो कभी ये 2 पे रहता है. और अगर हम इंडिया की बात करें तो हमारे जो we are not even getting a position in a top 150 rank. So IIT Bombay got 172. I have mentioned only 3, and overall there are only 8 institutions in the top 500 and 29 institutions in the top 100. See, I'm showing the statistics not to discourage anyone, but in fact, this is the thing. And what could be the one of the reason? If we want to improve ourselves, we need to understand where we are first, and then probably we can think of what are the measures to be taken. So what I found is, one of the reason is quality research and quality research output. Quality research and the research outputs is one of the major reason for this such kind of performance in the QS ranking or any other sort of ranking. I have just taken QS ranking as a tool here, but we can actually assess ourselves on many different areas. Like you can take any journal, कोई भी एक journal उठा लो, उससे American Chemical Society का हो या Royal Society का हो, और उसके अंदर देख सकते हैं कि हम लोग Indian articles कितने author, how many articles are authored by the Indian authors. तो ये एक मिरर है जो हमको समझना चाहिए कि पहले कहाँ है हम, ये अगर समझेंगे तो हम लोगों को ये समझ में आएगा कि हमको क्या करना चाहिए. So one of the major reason is why we are not able to produce a good quality research is हमारा जो motivation है research का वही गलत है. The motivation for research is to compliance of a degree. से कोई undergraduate degree है, postgraduate है, PhD है, MPhil है, उसको complete करना है. But we don't want to accept the challenges. We don't want to have the joy of solving the challenges which are really unsolved. It's not like if somebody has given you, your senior has given you some question papers and some research papers, and you are abstracting something out of it. Sometimes the motivation for joy कि भाई नेम प्लेट के ऊपर डॉक्टर लग जाए, बस इतना ही काफी है बोले. तो ये भी एक होता है कि थोड़ा हायर जॉब मिल जाए. But nobody wants, the motivation should be that you should have a thirst for, you should have a desire to get an intellectual joy of creating the knowledge, because the aim of the research is not to get a higher job or to respect, but to create a knowledge. So if we do that, and sometimes, you know, getting an incentive or a promotion, like if in an academic institution from assistant to associate to full professor, or in the colleges now from the 2021 onwards, for if someone wants to be a university professor, the UGC has made PhD degree as a mandatory one. But I think we should think beyond that, and we should try to think, can we be of a service to the society? हमारा भी कुछ एक रिटर्न देने का टाइम आ गया है कि अगर हम अपने रिसर्च के कंट्रीब्यूशन से whatever the knowledge and skills we have acquired, can we use it for the society, will be a major question. Now अभी सुबह से बात थोड़ी हो रही है, दोनों स्पीकर से थोड़ा मेरा डिफरेंट ओपिनियन है. I would be talking somewhat different, because both the speakers are talking about more about the needs of the industry. Of course, all the research, it comes from the curiosity, isn't it? So a question, right? I would, rather than curiosity, I would use the word a question. Every research starts with a question. And to solve that question, if we do some systematic study, then we are doing the basic research. If we do the basic research, then only, see, if you do not have, I will give you one basic, say, now we are talking about the IT revolution, right? And in the IT revolution, we talk about quantum computing and all. We talk about artificial intelligence, isn't it? If there would have been no quantum mechanics, can we think of quantum computing? If there is no number system, binary number system, can we think of artificial intelligence, machine learning? So actually, the basic research is something which is very, very important, and at times it has to be connected with the needs of the society. It's not like you are doing a research that will be somewhere that will be a part of a journal, and it will not be of any use to the society. I'll give you the way I did a basic research in the University of Rutgers at USA, and we were trying to do one specific reaction where we are trying to functionalize a carbon hydrogen bond, and we have developed that methodology. And that methodology can be applied, because doing that transformation was a challenge. And that challenge we solved, and that can be used for the synthesis of many life-saving drugs in future, isn't it? So this is how actually the concept, अगर concept ही नहीं रहेगा तो उसको apply कहाँ करोगे और उससे application development क्या करोगे? So I am a very strong advocate of investing on the basic research, and I strongly feel that if we do basic research, then only applied research will come, then only application development will come, and then only quality of life will improve, isn't it? And for all this process, there is always a requirement of a funding, because there is a radical change, because the theme of this event is changing with times, right? So now coming to the point, so this is what my first humble submission is. The second point that I want to talk about, that whom do you call the world-class researcher? So you may be talking in terms of the awards that you have got, including the Nobel Prize or any other fellowship like national, international fellowships that you got. If you want to call someone as a world-class researcher, it has to be demonstrated by the quality of the publication, the reports and the patents that have been published, and that are being the discoveries and the invention that a particular researcher has done, and that has affected the lives of the people in a positive way. If these things happen, then I would say these are my simplest definition to call a researcher as a world-class researcher. If your research is, all these findings are actually contributing in that direction, then only it can be called as a world-class researcher. And who will do it? In fact, the two things, what I suppose is two things are required. You need a human resource that includes all the academicians, stakeholders in the academia, like teachers, research student, master student, undergraduate student, I will urge here, and the industrials also. And for this, we need to have a very good research environment. I will talk about the research environment. So when I was in US, I noticed that the environment was quite open. The people, there was no secrecy was maintained in running the project. So like people used to discuss their each other's research problem, even on tea, so or on lunch. Even on lunch or even on tea, the different lab mates or different people from the different lab, they used to discuss the problem. But in India, we are actually maintaining the highest level of secrecy as if we are just a step away from the Nobel Prize. इतनी सिक्रेसी मेंटेन करते हैं यहाँ तो कि एक लैब में दो स्टूडेंट काम करते हैं एक ही गाइड के पास में, और उनमें दोनों को आपस में से पता नहीं रहता है कि वो क्या कर रहा है और ये क्या कर रहा है. This sort of secrecy is maintained, and if this sort of secrecy is maintained, then probably this is one point that where we really need to work hard, and we need to create a research environment that will be really conducive to produce many more things. And second is the policies and the procedures. So like new education policies coming forward, science and technology policy, which draft is in process, isn't it? And Harish sir also talked about one more policy, which was NISP, isn't it? National Innovation Policy. So policymakers also need to think on, while framing the policy, they need to think on what our system is, where we want to be, and what should be the pathway that should be adopted. This is one important point that I would like to tell you. If we really work on these issues, definitely we can contribute more. Now, the next question, probably Jaimin, I would like to answer is, do we have a potential? We have demonstrated in the history, like, so we have already demonstrated. We as a country has already demonstrated. I have kept 3-4 pictures. I will not talk anything about them, just to recall you that what we did, isn't it? So that time, the scientific vision that these people have shown, that has led that what is the situation now? The country is one of the top 5 nations in the field of space exploration. We know there are so many missions, like mission Moon, mission Mars. So in the area of space, we are developing countries in all other areas, but we are considered as a developed country in the area of space exploration. This is only because of the vision that the people that time has invested. It's not like कि ऊपरा ऊपरी एक ही प्रॉब्लम को सॉल्व करने में अगर हम सोचेंगे तो हमारे को उसके सॉल्यूशन बहुत अच्छे नहीं मिलेंगे. If we think a long term, actually मुझे सबसे अच्छा किताब अगर कोई लगता है तो वह है 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. और उसके अंदर बोला गया है कि if you focus on the character, personality will automatically emerge. So the same thing applies to all aspects of life, including the research, isn't it? So now, ये तो हो गई इतिहास की बात. अब करंट बात कर ले थोड़ी सी. So our covaxin, you know, indigenously prepared vaccine, celebrated, बहुत ही ज्यादा उसको ये मिल रहा है, acceptance मिल रहा है all across the world. ISRO has developed oxygen concentrator बहुत ही कम समय में. PPE kits हो गए. All these things are prepared. PPE kits, gloves, mask, all these are prepared. DRDO couple of weeks ago came with 2DG. Okay, so the fundamental thing इसके अंदर भी देखिए आप कि 2DG कहां से आया कि ग्लाइकोलिसिस को टारगेट करना है. ग्लाइकोलिसिस एक प्रोसेस है जिसके अंदर हम हमारे शरीर में आने वाले ग्लूकोज को हम लोग मेटाबोलाइज करने वाले हैं. इस प्रोसेस को टारगेट करने, ये बेसिक एक कंसेप्ट था जिससे हम आज कोविड को फाइट करने का भी एक ड्रग मार्केट में, और ऐसा, एंड पीपल आर हैविंग अ लॉट ऑफ होप फ्रॉम दिस ड्रग कि ये ड्रग आने से जब भी मार्केट में शुरू हो जाएगा, इसका जब यूज होना शुरू होगा तो मेनी थिंग्स विल हैपन और कुछ अच्छे रिजल्ट हमको देखने को मिलेंगे. तो दीज आर द थिंग्स एक्चुअली, ये सब एफर्ट्स हमारे डेमोन्स्ट्रेट करते हैं कि वी हैव potential, and I would say not only potential, we have got that jabardast potential that we can contribute and we can become a world-class researcher. Now, looking at this, how we can produce a world-class researcher? For this, I would like to make an example. ये एक सिंपल सा एग्जांपल है कि ऑयल क्राइसिस था 1970 में. See, all research questions are derived from industry and society. So oil crisis in 1970 has urged the academia to work in the area of fossil fuel free energy sources. And Stanley Whittingham in the year 1970 did the basic research, the first pioneering research work in the year 1970, where he has demonstrated that in titanium sulfide you can accommodate or inculcate the lithium ion. This was the basic concept. I know many of you are not from chemistry, but I'm telling you because I want to tell you that how a concept becomes an application and how it influences the world. So later on, John Goodenough did other studies. Akira Yoshino, he prepared the first viable lithium-ion battery, and the lithium-ion battery that came to the market in the first lithium-ion battery came in the year 1991, and it has led to the Nobel Prize in the year 2019 for the chemistry. So whatever we see is actually, you have to understand from an analogy of iceberg. Whatever we see is only 1/10. But the efforts that we put in is about 9/10. So what really happens, there are so many things happening beneath the water. So that is where we need to work if we want to come out ourselves as an iceberg in a sea. So this is what a simple philosophy which I strongly believe, and I want to share with all the participants and the panelists as well. So these are some of the areas where, so these are some of the key opportunities and the challenges I have put it before you, that we need to learn from history. This is a country of Aryabhatta. This is a country of Chanakya, isn't it? Which has given zero to the world. Zero ही नहीं होता तो quantum computing आज नहीं होता, mathematics से नहीं होता, isn't it? We need to change our belief that intelligence is in our gene instead of blaming our country. लोग बोलते हैं कि भाई लोग जा रहे हैं, but I think there is a problem of brain drain, but उसको भी अगर हमने कुछ corrective measures ले लिए तो probably we can excel. And demographic dividend जिसके बारे में हरीश सर ने बताया था कि, लेकिन demographic challenge भी है कि directing the youth in the proper direction. आप मुझे यूएस का एक एग्जांपल शेयर करने का बोल रहे थे, तो आई वुड शेयर जो मेरे बच्चे के साथ था कि when I was living in an Edison in US in New Jersey state. It is a place where Thomas Alva Edison invented the light bulb. So when I was living in a colony, and one day I saw a mobile van, and when the van comes to our colony, I saw around 25-50 people. They were rushing towards the van and they were getting the books. So when I inquired, I came to know that कि अमेरिका में एक फ्री मोबाइल वैन लाइब्रेरी जो फोर्टनाइटली हमारे घर तक आती है और हमको बुक्स देके जाती है फ्री ऑफ कॉस्ट. कितने भी बुक्स, 2 से लेके 50 तक कितने भी बुक्स हम उसमें से इशू कर सकते हैं. मोबाइल वैन में जाके घूमना है, अपने हाथ से सेल्फ केस में से बुक लेके आना है. देन आई आस्क्ड मी कि भाई ये हुआ कैसे, क्यों हुआ? तो फिर पता चला कि एक प्रॉब्लम था कि स्कूल चिल्ड्रंस इन यूएसए वे आर सफरिंग फ्रॉम ड्रग एडिक्शन. उनको डाइवर्ट करने के लिए, रीडिंग का हैबिट डेवलप करने के लिए उस वक्त के पॉलिसी मेकर्स ने लाइब्रेरी का कंसेप्ट बनाया और वहां पे लाइब्रेरी को लोगों के घर तक पहुंचाया. मतलब किसी के हाथ में बस उसको आंख खोलने के पढ़ने की देरी है तो उनके हाथ में बुक्स पहुंचा दिए. और बुक्स पहुंचाने के बाद में क्या हो गया कि अभी का सिनेरियो ऐसा है कि हमारा जो रीडिंग स्पीड है, अगर एक नॉर्मल इंडियंस का अगर रीडिंग स्पीड देखेंगे तो हमको अगर एक बुक दे दो तो हम 15 दिन लगाएंगे उसको पढ़ने को. अमेरिका का एक बच्चे को आप एक दिन दे दो तो वो 15 बुक फिनिश कर लेगा. अमेरिका में मतलब it's not about the kid of US origin, but it's about the kid who who is grown in USA. Like एक साल के अंदर ही मेरे बेटे के अंदर इतनी रीडिंग हैबिट डेवलप हो गई कि वो एक दिन में एक बुक तो आसानी से अभी यहाँ पे आके भी खत्म कर सकता है. सो हमारा जो यूथ है ये कितने दिनों तक के मोबाइल के ऐप और गूगल पे रिव्यू लिखते रहेगा? वो खुद कब ऐप बनाएगा? वो खुद कब बेसिक कंसेप्ट देगा दुनिया को? So this will be a big challenge actually, where we need to work all together. और now classroom के अंदर students को attract करना ये भी एक बहुत बड़ा challenge है, because the education system has changed from teacher centric था पहले, अभी student centric हो गया है. Teacher centric से student centric transformation जो हुआ है, this transformation is also very very important. Now student is at the center and teacher is at the periphery, and सिर्फ टीचर ही अकेला ही उसको एक इंफॉर्मेशन का सोर्स नहीं है, तो ये सो मेनी सोर्स लाइक गूगल और बाकी की चीजें जो है वो भी उसको पेरिफेरी से उसको बहुत सारे लोग नॉलेज दे रहे हैं. सो this is one thing, and I think we can incorporate. I will share my own experience that I have started teaching using a research-based pedagogical tool. So engaging students in conducting very small research, maybe a small topic. Like I'm a teacher of chemistry, so I will explain one example. Like we have a practical called estimation of glucose in our lab. We need to do it for our BSc SY student. So what I did actually, I asked the student that what is the relation between glucose and diabetes. You just do a survey, literature survey, and come back with your findings. So a group of people, a jigsaw kind of thing, and I have divided the students into different groups, and all the groups have been assigned a different task, and they come together, and we got a bigger picture in the form of one report. So this kind of tools can be developed, and we need to focus on developing a research-based pedagogical tool. Once again, I will tell you that we need to focus on the basic research and the cutting-edge research. And when you do cutting-edge research, you do not have an expertise in all the field. So what becomes important is collaborate. So collaboration is just like doing an surgery in an operation theater where you need anesthesian, a surgeon, a physician. All the things are required. So if you want your operation to be successful, your surgery to be successful, then your research to be successful, then we need to find out what are the cutting edge research areas, and we need to focus on those areas. And ancient science, as I said, and Jaimin also said, Ayurveda. So in fact, India we are blessed with having the natural resources. जो जंगल है हमारे, जो भी कुछ एंशिएंट लिटरेचर है, उसको अगर हम एक्सप्लोर करें तो वी कैन फाइंड अ सॉल्यूशन. आज का ये एक न्यूज़ है, आई डोंट नो इट्स ट्रू और फॉल्स, लेकिन आंध्र प्रदेश में कहीं एक जगह एक ऐसी है कि वो एक आंख में एक ड्रॉप डाल रहा है और एकदम से ऑक्सीजन लेवल एकदम से बढ़ जा रहा है. सो there is something you cannot deny कि ऐसा नहीं होता है, ऐसा नहीं होता है. You need to look into it, and you need to do a systematic study what is happening, and let us tell the world कि these are the effects and this is how the things can happen. And और एक important चीज है कि मैंने जो सीवी रमन का फोटो पिछले स्लाइड में दिखाया था, you need to compare between the new school of researcher and the old school of researcher. Whatever the researchers they did maybe 100 years before, the same thing cannot be done now. Like what Sir C.V. Raman did, he did his research. He was actually he was an officer in an Indian Revenue Service, Indian Finance Services, IFS, and because of his passion for research, he did some experiment at Indian Association of Cultivation of Science, IACS in Kolkata, and there he has fabricated his own spectrometer where he could study the diffraction studies. So that those sort of things will not happen now, because even if you have good ideas, unless and until you have good infrastructure, you cannot produce good research. For that sake, actually, the challenge would be to provide a generous funding. And providing a generous funding doesn't mean that you should provide only to the classes. You should also think of masses. You should find out the classes among the masses. पूरे masses को देने के बजाय, there should be a mechanism to find out classes among the masses, और जिनमें potential है उनको generous funding मिलना चाहिए, because the rural India has got rural and suburban India has got enormous potential to contribute through the research. This is what my humble submission is. So I will conclude that if we work on the roots, definitely shit will flourish in the form of success. So we need to engage our youth. We need to reframe the policy so that classes among the masses can be identified, strengthening the infrastructure by providing generous funding, collaboration where we need to change our mindset as a people, engaging youth, and developing research-based pedagogy for the engaging youth and directing them to a better direction. So with these, I will take your thanks, Jamin. Over to you now. Maybe we can have
Q&A. Yeah.
Yeah.
Something. I think it's the presentation that you have made is again a result of some great research that you have made maybe in this field. So I mean, I'm really overwhelmed with the kind of research and in-depth analysis that you had, sir. There is one question, I mean, not to you, but the question has been asked by the audience, or the comments have been made by some of the audience, is like, noble is not the only thing which could be a good parameter to maybe determine great research. Probably from my perspective, what I can say is, if I can give you one example, कि, क्या इंडिया में अच्छी मूवीज नहीं बनती? So no, it's not the fact. अच्छी मूवीज तो बहुत बनती है, उनको नेशनल अवार्ड से मिलते हैं और फिल्म फेयर में मिलते हैं, और there are a number of awards we are getting. But if it is getting Oscar, then it is a different ball game altogether. And probably the same thing could be applicable to Nobel as well. Yes, of course, we have a good research in India happening, maybe some of the greatest research or the contributors in the research as well. But that is something which could give you a badge, or maybe that is something which would give you a global recognition as a researcher. So that is what my call is. Yeah, of course, but
very true, Jamin. In fact, it's not like Nobel is not a parameter to assess the quality of research.
Yes,
it's actually how your research is affecting the lives of the people. That is more important. And
true.
Nobel is one parameter actually. And as I mentioned in my presentation also, that we need to focus on what quality of research we are publishing. In fact, there are different parameters, like there are some quantitative measures in the area of research. We usually call them as Hirsch index, Iten index. That will assess your that will be more technical kind of thing. But I think कि सिर्फ नोबल एक पैरामीटर नहीं है, तो हमको बहुत सारी चीजें कि तुम्हारे how you are affecting the lives of the people.
True.
That is more important.
True. What we will do is we'll open the question and answer session for sometime few minutes. If you have any questions from participants, and you can definitely unmute yourself and ask the questions. We have all the panelists who can address your questions. You can just unmute yourself, any of the participants, if you have any questions before you end this session.
So, yeah, by the time the question comes, I could see one question in the chat box.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's from Professor Sanjeev Zade, and he's asking me how to improve the condition of the state universities to create a world-class scientist. In fact, that's what I'm telling, that funding should be diverted to the classes in the masses. So I think if you can, if we develop a mechanism to identify the classes among the masses, then probably we can divert the fund and we can strengthen our state university, because the condition in the state university and affiliated college is not very good here, because the student teacher ratio, even though it come in the AISHE report, it shows 1:20 or 1:30, but the actual ratio in many colleges is 1:100 and 1:200. So the teachers are facing a lot of time crunch. So crushing shortage of faculty. These are the issues actually which are to be addressed by the policymakers probably, or maybe by the institution themselves. Then only probably the things will change.
All right. Any other questions from any other participants? Yeah, please unmute yourself and ask the questions.
Yeah, Jamin.
Yeah,
I
ma'am.
would like to know whether, I would like to know the opinions of the speakers on what role privatization of education will play in this area, specifically with reference to what Dr. Hemant spoke about, the fact that in most undergraduate colleges, we are grappling with the issue of not having a good student-teacher ratio. It is appalling. The student-teacher ratio is simply appalling. And the kind of load that is there, the teaching workload of teachers, and added to that, the admin workload of teachers often keeps them away from nurturing any research among their students. So is privatization a solution? I don't know. I just throw it open to all. If you think it is, please.
Dr. Shobha, I don't think privatization is a solution, because privatization again depends upon what's the motive and the values of the the private stakeholders. If they're entering into this as a for-profit venture, you're not likely to see either the student-teacher ratio changing or quality education coming out. I think a reflection of that was if you see in the mushrooming of engineering colleges, which happened about a decade or so back, and a similar pattern emerged with a lot of MBA colleges which started flourishing, and the same kind of issues happened because people, a lot of private houses got into it more as a money-making mechanism rather than the pure intent. And there are few, like I said, I have a lot of regard for institutions like Azim Premji Foundation or something who are doing work in this area to genuinely try and lift the quality of education. But I think those are a few and a handful. So I don't really think that the problem you're trying to solve is going to solve by privatization.
Thank you.
Just to add here, private, as Madam rightly said, privatization is just one aspect of it that one can look at as a probable solution. But what is important is the administrative reforms that is required in our state universities and the way colleges are being functioning. For example, many of the undergraduate courses, the fees of like BMS, BCom and all that are fixed from so many years, the same. Now you can't offer 15,000, 17,000 rupees fees, the best class of education. And at the same time, you need to improve, student teacher ratio. So this problem is not at the rural level, it is even at the urban level. Okay. So you need to have reforms who understand the challenges of the system and then support with the due mechanism. It is not that state universities are failing in any manner, but you need to have open mind and open heart to understand the challenges through which we are going through it and strengthen that system. Privatization, many corporates have come into the education. They have their own established structures of universities and all, but yet the class and all are coming from the old school of thoughts or old universities. So it is not that something has gone wrong. Only thing is we are doing wrong right now. We means the whole ecosystem somewhere need to strengthen that. And I feel, with this type of education where online education, blended education and all things all will come up to great extent, and policymakers have to change because of that new national education policy, things will change dramatically. Yeah. I foresee because this government is, very fast in implementing the policies, whether it was GST in the industry, all India level, or any other reforms that we have seen. So education is bound to reform. Only thing is we need to work, as highlighted by the many concerned members, that research quality has to be a market driven, application driven, and you can't have laboratories and laboratories built for it. You have to have a collaborative approach. You need to solve social problems. You need to understand social problems, as Sir Chandak sir mentioned, as Madam said, that you can't have for everything, you can't derive Einstein's equation or any other equation. What is important is not Nobel laureate. What is important is to understand a problem which is next to you. If you are in rural or even if you are in Mumbai, but within 120 kilometers periphery of Mumbai, you will have hundreds of problems. Can we solve those problems? Employment problems. Can we provide those? So support to this kind of learning institutions. Unnat Bharat Abhiyan is there. Can we take forward that Unnat Bharat Abhiyan campaign as an institutional support and take others or take everyone or all the stakeholders in our learning curve? That's more important, and it is going to happen.
Yeah,
I'm very confident.
It's happening. It's happening actually through Unnat Bharat and others. People are contributing. Colleges are contributing.
See, our challenges is different, Madam Menon. If you just look at COVID scenario and pre-COVID kind of a thing, world's 70% vaccination requirement is being manufactured in India. But when it comes to COVID injections or making vaccines, because of not only our population, but the whole dynamics of IPR and all are different, it is posing a different challenge. Yeah. Like 16 crore vaccines or 17 crore vaccines happen in USA. It is almost 50% of the population has been vaccinated. So they can afford to have open, mask-free kind of a thing in a city and all that, like how Israel did about a month back. They declared that, yes, it is a mask-free country. Okay, economies in the Europe in this week we have seen they are opening, right? Because of the less population, they are able to have more vaccinations. But in India, even if it is 22 crore vaccinations have done so far, but it is only 3% or 2% of our population. So this kind of a gap mechanism, has to be understood clearly. One. Second, as I mentioned earlier, that demographic dividend also gives you demographic challenges. We need to work on it. And hence, we do not have to look at the Harvard cases and all. What we need to develop our own repository with vocal for local kind of a cases, which our Prime Minister Modi ji also talks very often. So our problems are unique. Our solution has to be unique. As I mentioned about Revigo example, that example is, the worldwide, the drivers are facing the same problem. And it is the problem given by India, by Revigo to the whole world. So the problem is unique to us more so as compared to the other parts of the world. But then we are intelligent enough, our Indians are intelligent enough to provide this type of world-class learning-centric environment or business propositions to solve this kind of social issues, which has got more economic impact, social impact. So the day we start acknowledging this, the day we start respecting these entrepreneurs, not just profit making is not bad, but they are providing equal opportunity service provider to everyone. And the productivity level of the country will go up. The logistics cost, which is around 13 to 14% of, in our country, will come down. In all developed countries has got 8 to 9% of the logistics cost. So, we can benchmark ourselves on those quality parameters based on our own challenges. And we have to learn from all these changes which are happening in our society.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yes, any questions?
Any questions from audiences? You can just unmute yourself. Anybody who wants to ask the question. Or I think the issue and the topic has been well addressed by all the speakers, so that we do not have much questions at the moment. Could be reason. What we will do is then, if there are no such questions, then we'll come to the concluding part of the session. And for that, I would like to invite...
Jaimin, one last point I saw on the chat box is about, and education was never a priority of government. There are thousands of hurdles in implementing quality in education. Yes, indeed, that there are challenges as I spoke, but look at the new education policy, national education policy, which talks about 6% investment in education. So the day is not far where we will all get this kind of opportunities or benefit and support. Be positive, not COVID positive, but in thought process positive. And I'm sure, we will win the battle.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for addressing the problem.
Okay.
My pleasure.
Now, I would like to invite Dr. Bhageshri, the IQAC coordinator of Valia College, who will be concluding this session with the fitting takeaways from what we have discussed in last 1 hour. Bhageshri, madam, on you.
Yes, good evening to all present for the national webinar today. On behalf of Cosmopolitan's Valia College and team teachers, which is a Government of India recognized leading edtech startup, I, Bhageshri, have been entrusted with the task to present a summation of this wonderful, thought-provoking and intriguing deliberation that we had for the last 2 hours on the topic, can India produce world-class researchers? We are fortunate to be part of this academic endeavor where we were presented with 3 different perspectives from each of the speakers today, and each one equally pertinent from the research point of view. To begin with, Dr. Harish Kumar Purohit, who set the ball rolling today with his opening address, started with the challenges of research for teachers, where teachers today are truly burdened with curricular and extracurricular activities, which leaves them with limited time for research. Sir gave us some practical examples of Easy Move and Revigo to bring home his point that research requires change in our mindset, where we start looking out for solutions to the real life problems. We need to monitor on innovation, as Sir rightly said, and take inspiration to conduct meaningful research. Things are changing and we need to be agile and adapt, and as teachers we have a bigger role to play of sowing the seeds of research in our classrooms too. So your examples from variety of fields such as commodity market, sugar industry, gold sovereign bonds, all helped us to understand as teachers how do we create a learning environment in the classroom. Our second panelist for today, Ma'am Debolina Datta, who presented a practical and industry perspective. To sum up Ma'am's session, who has come into academics from a 3 decades experience into industry, and Ma'am feels that there's a great divide between industry and academics. So probably the solution lies in academicians taking up topics which are practical and topical and based on the issues faced by industry and bring in industry relevant content. Ma'am strongly feels that we need to learn the craft of research, and most importantly, takeaway from her session was that we need to collaborate with the right partners in India, if possible, even at international level. Ma'am also shared her insights about the IIM ecosystem, which helps us to understand how different, each one of us in our universities or colleges are, and how the IIM ecosystem promotes research with their research ethics, which the tools that they are using, and the free hand that the teachers get to do for in the field of research. Our third and the last panelist, Dr. Hemant Chandak, sir, for touching upon important aspects of research from academician's point of view. Sir's presentation in a nutshell focused on 3 aspects. First, he started off his presentation with the status of higher education in India, with statistics on the quantity and the lack of quality contribution when we compare India with other countries in the world. Sir believes problem lies perhaps in the motivation of research, thirst for knowledge, or perhaps the lack of joy is missing in the research that we are doing. So perhaps the correct motivation would help us to churn out good research work at the end of the day. So secondly discussed on do we have the potentials to create world class researchers. Sir is very optimistic, and he's a strong advocate of the fact that yes, we have the potentials, we have shown it in the past, and we are showing it in the current times as well. And last and the most important takeaway from Sir's presentation was he came up with a roadmap. He talked about the key opportunities, and he also talked about the key challenges that we need to address if at all we are going anywhere near to creating world class researchers. So, Sir is also a very strong advocate of basic research and cutting edge research, which is a key to a good quality of life. To sum up the session today, though they all brought in their different perspectives from industry, from academics, but they all agreed, I guess, on one point, which says that research has to present solutions to the real problems or industry specific problems, to be more precise, and most importantly, collaborate at national or international level. So this is what I would like to sum up with. And I also take this opportunity to extend my gratitude to all the 3 resource persons who were part of our today's quest. I thank them all for taking off their time and sharing their valuable insights today. And I also take this opportunity to thank everybody else who has played some significant role today in this webinar. I would like to thank our management for supporting us and standing by us in all our academic endeavors. I thank our principal, Dr. Shobha Menon, for motivating and guiding us to conduct such type of activities in collaboration again, as we were just talking about. Then a sincere thanks or gratitude is due to teachers team for first of all providing a platform for such scholarly dialogue to happen. Okay, they have already come up with series of such webinars, and I guess that is a very big step towards leading to such discussions, and also not only just giving a platform, but also putting up such relentless efforts to plan, organize, and execute webinars of this nature. And a webinar's true success, or any conference's true success, depends not only on the number of participants that we get, but also on the type of questions that we raise, the type of the issues that we address. And I guess on this counts, we are extremely honored to have such august audience of respected principals, vice principals, and coordinators today, who were interactive, who came up with a lot of questions and steered this discussion in the direction in which it was intended to. Thank you all for joining in our quest, and I wish and I hope that as academicians, we are all going to introspect and try to realize on the part we need to play, towards transforming ourselves into world-class researchers. And now I request Jaimin sir to take over. Thank you all. Stay safe, stay blessed.
Thank you, Bhageshri madam. And so here we are at the end of this webinar, and at the end of this season 2 as well. We are just ending this season with, on a high note. And before we end, I would like to just invite Dr. Shobha Menon again on screen. Since, we have collaborated even in season 1 with Valia College and even in season 2 with Valia College. And since we are ending season 2, we are ending the entire session. So just wanted Shobha Menon to speak, her thoughts about this particular initiative. Shobha Menon, just a minute.
More than talking about the initiative, because from my position, I have interacted with so many vendors. Sorry, Jaimin, referring to you as a vendor, but then because you're much more than that to us, I've come across so many vendors who come with various software, which they will come, and as head of institution, they will come, they will send their visiting card in, then you interact with them, and then they will try to tell you, what their product is and how it can help you, etc., etc. It in a week at least do to aate hi hain, and it is an unending process. Okay, now but there is a difference between teachers and these people, the rest who come. That is because what I have found with this group is, one, the service they provide, amazing. Secondly, look at the thought behind coming up with something like, let's talk education. We all know that there is an element of brand building in this, but the way it is done, where it is not only brand building, there is a genuine effort to address issues which concern academicians. And that's where I think teachers stands out. It's really amazing that that they have a series like this, Let's Talk Education, because generally we find that not many private bodies are having events like this, which move beyond brand building and look and discuss issues which really concern us as academicians. And if you look at each of the topics that have been taken up under the Let's Talk Education series, each one touches the heart of an academician. So Let's Talk Education is a fantastic endeavor, and we are waiting for season 3. Okay, Jaimin? So I'm sure all those who are here today are waiting for season 3 as well. Yeah, there, Harish sir has already put up his hand. So we are waiting for season 3, and definitely I would put it like this. Because of the pandemic, probably you thought of Let's Talk Education season 1, and then we came to season 2. Let's not have a pandemic to run to season 3. Let's have season 3, all right. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you all for being here today. Special thanks to our panelists, and of course all the participants who have come up with such intelligent questions. And what I noticed is they've not left, they've been so engaged in what has been happening that the numbers have been steady throughout the discussion. So it's amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
All right. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, all these speakers,
Thank you.
participants,
Thank you.
all those who are associated with the webinar. Thank you very much. Thank you. We'll be definitely informing you whenever we are coming up with season 3 of Let's Talk Education. Thank you, everyone. And about participation certificate, you'll be getting it within a week. So yeah, thank you. I'm just ending this meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chaliye.